Hello everyone, my name is Jinjos, and welcome to Mission 6 of Bageltop Games' Marvel Legendary Campaign. We got a lot to get through, so let's jump right in. Mission 6. Apocalypse. Still exhausted from your efforts in Los Angeles, you hop back aboard the Blackbird jet towards Egypt, where Apocalypse's base of operation is located. Xavier cautioned you and your team to come prepared. Apocalypse has engineered his own biosynthetic mutant minions, perverting their established mutant powers into something unholy. You wonder if you're in over your head. En route to Egypt, you receive reports that Black Widow has betrayed the United States and joined a Russian terrorist organization called Angel Wings. Shortly after the report, you receive a message. It's from Natasha, asking for a rendezvous, but she can't explain why. We decide to meet up with Black Widow. The S.H.I.E.L.D. intelligence reports must be wrong. You know Natasha. She defected from the KGB to come work for S.H.I.E.L.D. years ago. The last thing she'd do is join anti-American forces again. You agree to meet up with Natasha on the way to Egypt. She's accompanied by a winged mutant your X-Men associate seems to be familiar with. You fill them in on your mission to stop Apocalypse. We add Black Widow and Angel to the team, replacing Professor X and Gambit. You touch down in Egypt, and Jean Grey is waiting for you. She's been psychically monitoring Apocalypse's operations and commends your perfect timing, as he is about to send his minions, the four Horsemen, around the world to spread suffering and begin his global domination. There is no time to lose. All of humanity is at stake. You can't afford to lose this one, or there will be nothing left. Your team is humanity's last stand. We add Jean Grey to the team, and we decide to replace Iceman. Iceman is an incredible hero, and I was hoping to see him pop off a bit more in the last game, but by adding Black Widow and Angel, our number of ranged heroes has gone down significantly, but our need to rescue bystanders has gone up, something Jean Grey does very well. Before we get into the gameplay, let's take a look at how our heroes will synergize together. Our team doesn't really have a clear-cut division in terms of two different decks, but lots of pocket synergy. Starting with Wolverine, we got Keen Senses, which can be activated by Healing Factor, and Bamf. To boost our card draw, we also have Diving Catch, which can be discarded through Angel's other common card, High Speed Chase, and his uncommon card, Drop Off a Friend. Along with having Frenzied Slashing, we have a decent amount of card draw that will hopefully chain together to overwhelm our enemies. By collecting a lot of instinct cards in one deck, it can also open us to playing Swashbuckling, as we will hopefully draw into the few covert cards we will need to activate it. Moving to our other archetype, we have Rescuing Bystanders. We have some of the payoffs in Jean Grey's common pool with Read Your Thoughts. This can be triggered by multiple cards in the deck, such as Dangerous Rescue, Mission Accomplish, and Psychic Search. Mission Accomplice is the weakest of these three, though, as it is the only tech card in our hero deck. But at the very least, it does replace itself when played. Dangerous Rescue is definitely the strongest, as it also thins out our deck by allowing us to KO cards. We can activate it through Absorb Energies, and we can increase our amount of KOing with Bishop's other common card, whatever the cost. High Speed Chase will be very versatile, as it will activate Dangerous Rescue and draw us into more powerful payoffs, such as Mind Over Matter and the big hitter, Covert Operations. With all that said and done, this is generally how the decks would lay out with High Speed Chase and Blend Into the Shadows being the flex pick. But we can only bring 5 heroes into the game, meaning we have to leave one behind, and the decision was based on one card, and that being Concussive Blast. We simply don't have enough ranged heroes to justify keeping it around. This deck does weaken our rescue archetype by a little bit, so we will try and lean High Speed Chase and Blend Into the Shadows to that side. Really excited for this game, so let's move into setup. We are going to be playing the Save Humanity scheme. The villain deck will include 8 schemes, and 24 bystanders will be placed in the hero deck as bystanders we need to rescue. When a bystander is in HQ, we can recruit them for 2 apiece, and place them in our victory pile. When a scheme twist is drawn, we will KO all bystanders in the HQ, and then each player will reveal an instinct hero from their hand. If they can't, they will KO a bystander from their victory pile. Evil will win when 8 total bystanders are KO'd. We will be facing off against the one and only Apocalypse, who has an HP of 12 and has an alternate win condition. If all 4 of his horsemen escape, Pestilence, War, Famine, and Death. If all 4 of his horsemen, Pestilence, War, Famine, and Death escape, then he will win. He also gives them a buff by increasing all their HP by +2. If a Master Strike is drawn, then each player will reveal their hand and place all heroes that cost 1 or more on top of their deck. The villain deck will also contain the 4 Horsemen, Hydra, and Maggia Goons as the Henchmen. All of this was decided by following the instructions in the campaign. Our starting HQ will begin with a Bystander, which can be recruited for 2. Next is one of the strongest cards in our hero deck, Covert Operations. This card will grant us attack equal to the number of bystanders in our victory pile. This card can be responsible for 6, 12, 18 damage every time it's played, and with how the game is set up, I think we will see some big numbers. Next is Dangerous Rescue. This card will grant us 2 attack, and when activated by a covert card, we'll KO a card from our hand or discard, and we get to rescue a bystander. Next is Swashbuckling, which will grant us 3 attack, and when activated by an instinct and a covert card, it will give us another 3 more attack. Last up is Keen Senses, which will grant us 1 attack, and when activated by an instinct card, will let us draw a card. Harrison wins the whitest tennis shoe competition and starts us off. Harrison draws 5 agents, 1 trooper, and a mag goon from the villain deck. This henchman has the bribe mechanic, meaning we can defeat him by using damage and recruit in any combination. When we fight him, we will have to KO one of our heroes. He plays out and recruits Covert Operation, wanting to get it out of the HQ as fast as possible. It is replaced by High Speed Chase. This card will let us draw 2 cards and discard 1. He passes. Miles draws 4 agents, 2 troopers, and a Pestilence from the villain deck. When they fight Pestilence, the other player will reveal the top 3 cards of their deck and discard any card that costs 1 or more recruit, placing the rest on top. If they escape, both players will do this effect. Harrison plays out and recruits High Speed Chase to get some early card draw, and is replaced by Bamf. This card will gain us 2 recruit and has the teleport mechanic, meaning we can set it aside before using it and save it for the next turn. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, 3 troopers, and then a Death from the villain deck. When they fight Death, the other players will reveal their hand and KO a card that costs 1 or more recruit. If he escapes, both players will do this effect. He plays out and recruits Dangerous Rescue, replacing it with a Bystander. He passes. Miles draws 3 agents, 3 troopers, and then a goon from the villain deck. He plays out and then recruits Keen Senses, replacing it with Healing Factor. This card will grant us 2 attack, and we can KO a wound from our hand or discard to draw a card. He fights the goon in the sewers, and then KOs an agent from his hand. He passes. Harrison draws 5 agents, 1 trooper, and then a goon from the villain deck. Feeling nervous about a scheme to his coming, he plays out and rescues a bystander, replacing it with Drop Off a Friend. This card will grant us 2 attack, and we may discard a card. If we do, we gain attack equal to its recruit cost. He then fights the goon in the sewers, KOing an agent from hand. He passes. Miles draws 5 agents, a trooper, Keen Senses, and then a Master Strike from the villain deck. Miles places Keen Senses back on top, while Harrison places 2 cards on top. He plays out and then recruits Bamf, replacing it with News Reporter. When we rescue this bystander, we get to draw a card. He passes. Miles draws 3 agents, 1 trooper, and then a goon from the villain deck. He plays out and then takes out a goon in the sewers, KOing a trooper. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, 3 troopers, Keen Senses, and then a Master Strike from the villain deck. Miles places Keen Senses back on top, while Harrison places 1 on top of his. He plays out and then fights the goon in the streets, KOing an agent. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, 3 troopers, and then a goon from the villain deck. He plays out and then fights the goon in the sewers, KOing an agent from his hand. He passes. Miles draws 3 agents, Keen Senses, Bamf, High Speed Chase, and then a Famine from the villain deck. When they fight Famine, other players will have to reveal an instinct hero or discard a card. If he escapes, both players will have to do this. He plays High Speed Chase, drawing 2 agents and discarding 1 of them. He then plays Bamf into an activated Keen Senses, drawing a trooper. He plays out and then recruits Swashbuckler, replacing it with Diving Catch. This card will grant us 2 recruit, and if it is discarded, we will rescue a bystander and draw 2 cards. He passes. Harrison draws 4 agents, Dangerous Rescue, Covert Operation, and then a War from the villain deck. All 4 Horsemen are now officially on the field. When they fight War, other players will have to reveal an instinct hero, or else they will gain a wound. If he escapes, both players will do this. He plays 4 agents and recruits a bystander from the HQ, replacing it with Berserker Rage. This card will draw 3 cards, and if acted by an instinct card, will grant +1 for each extra card drawn this turn if it's played. He then recruits News Reporter, drawing an agent. It's replaced by Healing Factor. He plays Covert Operations for 3, and then an activated Dangerous Rescue, KOing an agent from his hand, and rescuing a standard bystander. He passes. Miles draws 3 agents, 3 troopers, and then an endless armies of Hydra. He plays out and recruits Healing Factor, replacing it with Covert Operations. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, 2 troopers, Dangerous Rescue, and then a goon from the villain deck, causing Pestilence to escape. Harrison and Miles look at the top 3 cards of their decks, with Harrison discarding Covert Operations, and Miles discarding Bamf. Healing Factor is KO'd from the HQ, replacing it with high-speed chase. He plays out and recruits high-speed chase, replacing it with mission accomplished. This card will draw a card, and if activated by a tech hero, will rescue a bystander. He fights a goon in the sewers, KOing a trooper from his hand. He passes. Miles draws 2 agents, a trooper, high-speed chase, keen senses, swashbuckler, and then a goon from the villain deck. He plays high-speed chase, drawing an agent, and a trooper, discarding the agent. He plays keen senses into an activated swashbuckler. He plays out, and then fights death. Harrison reveals his hand and KOs Dangerous Rescue. Miles then recruits Mission Accomplished, as it at least replaces itself when played, and then he replaces that with Dangerous Rescue. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, 2 troopers, high-speed chase, and then a goon from the villain deck. He plays high-speed chase, drawing an agent, and Covert Operation, discarding a trooper. He plays out, with Covert Operation providing 4 damage. He recruits Dangerous Rescue, replacing it with News Reporter. We fight the goon in the sewers, KOing an agent. He passes. Miles draws 3 agents, 2 troopers, Healing Factor, and then a Master Strike from the villain deck. Miles places Healing Factor on top, with Harrison placing no cards on top. He plays out and fights a goon, KOing a trooper. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, 3 troopers, and then another Master Strike from the villain deck. Harrison has all gray heroes, but Miles places 3 cards on top of his deck. He plays out and recruits a second copy of Covert Operations and replaces it with Keen Senses. He passes. Miles draws 2 agents, a trooper, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. We KO a news reporter from the HQ, replacing it with a bystander. Harrison can't reveal, so he KOs a bystander from his victory pile, while Miles has none in his. He plays out and recruits Keen Senses, replacing it with Diving Catch. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, Covert Operation, Dangerous Rescue, High-Speed Chase, and then a bystander from the villain deck, which Endless Armies of Hydra captures. He plays High-Speed Chase and draws Covert Operation and an agent, discarding the agent. He plays an activated Dangerous Rescue, KOing a trooper from discard, and then rescues a standard bystander. He plays 3 agents and recruits a bystander from HQ, replacing it with Banff. He plays 2 Covert Operations for 6 apiece. He fights Apocalypse, drawing the End of All Things. Each player will look at the top 3 cards of their deck and KO a card that costs 1 or more recruit. Harrison KOs High-Speed Chase, and Miles KOs Mission Accomplished. He passes. Miles plays an agent, a trooper, swashbuckler, Healing Factor, Keen Senses, Banff, and then a Hydra Kidnapper from the villain deck. He plays a Healing Factor into Keen Senses, drawing a trooper. He plays out and recruits Banff, replacing it with Diving Catch. He fights War, but Harrison can't reveal an instinct hero, so he gains a wound. He passes. Harrison draws an agent, 2 troopers, Dangerous Rescue, Covert Operations, High-Speed Chase, and then a Scheme Twist from the villain deck. There are no bystanders in the HQ to KO. Miles can reveal an instinct hero, but Harrison KOs a bystander from his victory pile. He plays High-Speed Chase, drawing an agent, and Covert Operations, discarding an agent. He plays an activated Dangerous Rescue, KOing a wound for the discard, and rescuing a standard bystander. He plays 2 Covert Operations for 6 apiece. He fights Apocalypse and draws Immortal and Undefeated. Since it isn't the last tactic, we will shuffle it back in and rescue 6 bystanders. He passes. Miles draws 5 agents, Keen Senses, and then a War from the villain deck. He plays out and recruits Diving Catch, replacing it with a bystander. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, High-Speed Chase, Dangerous Rescue, Covert Operation, and then an Endless Armies of Hydra from the villain deck. He plays High-Speed Chase, drawing a trooper, and Covert Operations, discarding an agent. He plays an activated Dangerous Rescue, KOing an agent from discard, rescuing a Radiation Scientist, KOing a trooper from his hand. He plays 2 agents, rescuing a bystander from the HQ, replacing it with Banff. He then plays Covert Operation for 14, and fights Apocalypse, drawing Immortal and Undefeated. Since it wasn't the last tactic, we rescue 6 bystanders, but the bystander deck only has 3 left. We rescue 1 standard bystander and 2 news reporters. We draw an agent and a trooper. He plays out and then hits Apocalypse again, drawing Horsemen or drawing Nearer. Miles has 1 death in his victory pile and puts him in the sewer, causing Famine to escape. He then fights War, but Miles can reveal to prevent the wound. He passes. Miles draws an agent, 2 troopers, Banff, Swashbuckling, Keen Senses, and then a Viper from the villain deck. He plays a Bamf into Keen Senses, drawing Healing Factor. He plays out, and then recruits Bamf, replacing it with Frenzied Slashing. He fights the Hydra Kidnapper, and gains a Shield Officer. He then fights Viper, and since Harrison doesn't have a Hydra villain in his victory pile, he gains a wound. He passes. Harrison draws 3 agents, a Trooper, Dangerous Rescue, Covert Operations, and then a Goon from the villain deck. He plays Covert Operations for 17, and then an activated Dangerous Rescue. We KO an agent from hand, but can't rescue a bystander. He fights Apocalypse, and draws Immortal and Undefeated again. We shuffle it back in again. We fight the Goon in the sewers, and then KO an agent from his hand. He passes. Miles draws an agent, Shield Officer, Bamf, Diving Catch, Keen Senses, Healing Factor, and then Famine from the villain deck. He plays a Healing Factor, and then an activated Keen Senses, drawing an agent. He plays out, and then recruits Berserker Rage, replacing it with Swashbuckler. He passes. Harrison draws 2 agents, Dangerous Rescue, 2 Covert Operations, High Speed Chase, and then Pestilence from the villain deck. He plays High Speed Chase, drawing a Trooper and a wound, discarding the wound. He plays Dangerous Rescue, KOing the wound. He plays 2 Covert Operations for a total of 36 damage. We hit Apocalypse, drawing Immortal and Undefeated again. We hit him again, drawing Apocalyptic Destruction. We don't even read the card, and we hit Apocalypse, drawing Immortal and Undefeated, winning the game. As your team lands the final blow on Apocalypse, the Horsemen shift out of their monstrous forms and fall to the ground, ending their crusade of annihilation once and for all. Professor Xavier's voice echoes through your head. I can no longer sense Apocalypse's brainwave patterns. It is finished. Your team nods approvingly. Against all odds, you defeated the oldest mutant in the universe and saved humanity. Not bad for a lowly S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Write down, Apocalypse defeated. Upon your return to S.H.I.E.L.D. HQ, you were given a hero's welcome. Against all odds, and despite any mistakes you may have made in the past, you conquered the worst evil humanity has ever faced. The least they could give you is a raise and a promotion, right? We can now bring in a total of 4 heroes from the core box or Dark City. After some contemplation, we decide to bring in Dark City Wolverine, replacing Black Widow, Colossus replacing Bishop, Rogue replacing Corset Wolverine, and Cyclops replacing Jean Grey. With that, we have completed Chapter 2 of Bageltop Games' Marvel Legendary Campaign. We are moving on to Chapter 3 in our next video, and I have no idea what is to come, but I am so excited. Once again, I highly recommend you check out this campaign. It is full of team-building decisions that have major impacts as the game goes on, and it is definitely worth your time. With that said, thank you so much for joining me for another video of gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember to like and subscribe, and as always, have a wonderful day.